Remember back in the day, like way back when Bitcoin was first a thing, people were mining it on their like old computers.
Yeah,
It was like the Wild West out there, you know?
it was.
Anyone with the computer could just like fire it up and maybe strike digital gold. Can you imagine
Yeah.
like firing up that old Windows 95 machine in your basement and boom, you're a Bitcoin millionaire.
It really does capture the imagination, doesn't it?
Totally.
I mean, those early days were definitely a different era,
For sure.
for sure. Bitcoin mining today, totally different beast.
Okay, so let's dive into that.
Right.
For anyone who's just joining us for this deep dive
Yeah.
into Bitcoin mining and blockchain gaming,
Mm-hmm.
can you give us like a breakdown? What exactly is Bitcoin mining in today's world?
Well, at its core, Bitcoin miners are really the backbone of the entire Bitcoin network. That they're the ones constantly verifying transactions and adding them to the blockchain.
Okay, so the blockchain, that's like what? A giant digital accounting book. But instead of tracking dollars and cents,
Yeah.
it's tracking Bitcoin.
Exactly. And to add a new page or a new block to this ledger,
Okay.
miners have to solve these crazy, complex cryptographic puzzles.
Okay, so these puzzles, I'm guessing we're not talking Sudoku here.
No. This isn't just a fun brain teaser. It's really, really crucial. It's a crucial part of what keeps Bitcoin secure.
Okay, so what does it actually take to mine a Bitcoin?
All right, so this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The process involves something called hashing.
Hashing.
Hashing. So imagine this special algorithm called SHA-256.
Okay.
And it's basically a one-way function. You put in any data at all, like a string of numbers,
Okay.
and it spits out this unique output called a hash.
A hash.
A hash. Now, here's the trick. Miners, they're all competing
Uh-huh.
to find the input that creates a very specific hash that starts with a certain number of zeros.
So it's kind of like a digital lottery where the winning ticket is this like specific hash.
Yeah.
And the more zeros at the beginning, the harder it is to find.
Precisely.
Wow.
To find that winning ticket, you need immense computing power. That's why we have these specialized computers called ASICs. They're basically designed for one thing.
Yeah.
Finding that elusive hash, think of them as like the Ferraris of computing power.
Okay, so we've come a long way from those early days where anyone could mine Bitcoin at home
Right.
on their computer. Why is that? Why did things get so specialized?
Well, the answer is really in the design of Bitcoin itself. The system automatically adjusts the difficulty of these puzzles.
Oh, wow.
As more miners join the network and computing power goes up, the difficulty ramps up. It makes sure that a new block is added to the blockchain roughly every 10 minutes.
So it's like self-regulating.
Exactly.
But let's talk about the payoff.
Okay.
What do these miners get for solving these crazy complex puzzles?
All right, so the reward for cracking the code and adding a new block to the blockchain is currently 6.25 Bitcoin. Now, with Bitcoin trading at around $94,000, that's a prize worth well over $500,000.
Wow. That's a pretty big incentive. But I imagine winning this, like, digital lottery, it's got to be really hard.
Oh, it is.
Are most miners going it alone?
You know, solo mining is super rare these days. It's way too competitive.
Yeah.
Most miners join forces, what are called mining pools.
Oh, okay.
It's basically a group effort. They combine their computing power and share the rewards if any one of them finds the winning hash.
So it's strength in numbers.
Absolutely. They pool their resources to increase their chances of getting that reward.
But all of this mining, it's got to cost a lot, right? We're talking about running these powerful computers 24/7. That's got to be a ton of electricity.
You've hit on one of the biggest criticisms of Bitcoin mining, the energy consumption. Some estimates suggest it uses more electricity than entire countries. So there's a lot of debate about the environmental impact.
That's a serious concern. So was the industry doing anything about it?
Yeah, thankfully there's a growing movement toward more sustainable mining.
Okay, good.
Some mining operations now, they're using renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. And there's actually ongoing research into more energy efficient mining algorithms.
That's really good to hear. But, you know, this whole concept of a blockchain, the foundation of Bitcoin, it's got implications way beyond cryptocurrency, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we're seeing it pop up everywhere these days.
We are.
From supply chains to voting systems, even in the gaming world.
Absolutely. The potential applications are vast,
Yeah.
still largely untapped, but gaming in particular, I think, is ripe for disruption. It offers some really, really unique possibilities. What's really fascinating is that blockchain could actually make online gaming more fair.
More fair.
Yeah. More transparent.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Are you saying blockchain could, like,
Yeah.
create a world without cheaters
It could.
in games like Call of Duty? Because
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. That sounds too good to be true.
I know it sounds far-fetched,
Yeah.
but it really is possible. Think about it. Every single player action,
Uh-huh.
every achievement,
Okay.
every weapon earned or traded
Right.
could be immutably recorded on the blockchain.
So if someone tries to, like, exploit the game or
Yeah.
use an aimbot,
Yeah.
it's not just like, detectable. It's permanently recorded.
That's right.
There's no hiding, no getting away with it.
Exactly. And it goes even beyond just, catching those cheaters.
Right.
We could see a system where
Yeah.
a player's blockchain ID is flagged. They're permanently banned
Wow.
across multiple games.
Okay.
The stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah.
It encourages fair play from the outset.
That is a huge shift. I mean, that would definitely make me think twice
Right.
before trying any shader tactics. For sure.
But blockchain in gaming, it's not just about weeding out the bad apples.
Yeah.
It could also revolutionize the way we own and trade digital assets.
Absolutely. Think about all the time. And money gamers invest in virtual items, right? Like skins, weapons, rare collectibles.
Right.
Right now, those assets are often tied to one specific game or platform,
Yeah.
and their value can be, volatile.
Yeah. I mean, some of those in-game economies are insane. People are spending serious money on digital items.
I know, it's crazy.
It is.
But imagine if those items were represented as unique tokens on a blockchain.
Oh, okay.
Players would have true ownership of their digital goods with the ability to, trade or even sell them freely in a secure and transparent marketplace.
That's wild. It would be like having a deed to your virtual house or a title to your digital car. You'd actually own it.
Exactly.
Not just have a license to use it within a specific game. But okay, so we're talking about transparency and immutability.
Yeah.
What about privacy?
Right. Wouldn't a public blockchain mean that anyone could see, like, every transaction I've made?
Yeah.
Every item I own?
That's a valid concern, for
Yeah.
sure. Finding the right balance between transparency and privacy
Right.
is a key challenge for blockchain development. But there are a lot of brilliant people
Yeah.
working on solutions that allow for
Okay.
selective disclosure or privacy-preserving transactions.
So it's not like an all or nothing situation.
No.
You could choose what information to share publicly
Exactly.
and what to keep private. But I imagine governments are probably keeping a close eye on this space, right?
Absolutely.
Regulation could have a big impact on this, couldn't it?
Of course. As blockchain becomes more mainstream, governments all over the world
Yeah.
are trying to figure out how to regulate it. It's complicated. There's no easy answers.
Right, because on one hand, they want to, like, encourage innovation and the growth of this.
It's exciting.
Exciting new technology. But on the other hand, they've got to be worried about, like, money laundering, tax evasion,
Right.
protecting people from scams.
It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah.
How those regulations evolve
Yeah.
will have a huge impact on the future of blockchain. Not just in gaming, but, across all industries.
So it's clear that blockchain has the potential to really change a lot of aspects of our lives, but let's bring it back to Bitcoin mining for a second.
Right.
We've discussed the rewards and the challenges, but is it still a viable thing? Will it stay profitable as things continue to evolve?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Literally, yeah.
And it really depends.
On what?
Yeah.
What are some of the key things that'll determine the profitability of Bitcoin mining?
Well, one of the biggest factors is, of course, the price of Bitcoin itself.
Okay, yeah.
If the price stays high
Right.
or even continues to climb,
Mm-hmm.
mining can be really profitable,
Yeah.
even with the rising costs of electricity and hardware.
Right. But if the price drops significantly, well,
Yeah.
it could quickly become unprofitable for a lot of miners.
So it's inherently risky.
It is.
It's high risk, high reward.
Yeah, you could say that. There are other factors, too, like the increasing difficulty of mining,
Right.
competition from other miners, and those halving events we talked about.
Oh, yeah, the halving events. Those are kind of a big deal, right? Just remind us what that means and why it matters.
So every 4 years or so,
Yeah.
the reward for mining a block is cut in half.
Oh, wow.
It's a key mechanism built into the code to control inflation,
Right.
to control the overall supply of Bitcoin,
Okay.
and ensure that it remains scarce over time.
And the next one's coming up in 2024.
Is.
The reward's going to drop from 6.25 to 3.125 Bitcoin per block. That's a big reduction.
It is.
What impact will that have on the profitability of mining
Well, it's going to squeeze margins.
and make the competition even fiercer? Some of the smaller miners, they might be forced out, unable to keep up with the bigger operations with more resources.
Because we could see like a consolidation of the mining industry.
It's possible.
More power in the hands of just a few.
It's a real possibility.
That's a bit concerning. It sounds like we could end up back where we started.
Right.
A system controlled by a few powerful players.
It's a potential risk.
Mm.
That's why it's so important to encourage more decentralized and energy-efficient mining solutions.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see some innovations that allow smaller players to stay competitive, keep the Bitcoin network truly decentralized.
It's really fascinating to see how this technology is like evolving.
It is.
And what impact it'll have. I mean, we've already seen so much change
We have.
in such a short amount of time.
It's crazy to think how far we've come in just 15 years.
Okay.
Bitcoin's still just a teenager,
Yeah.
in technological terms, and it's already making huge waves.
You mentioned earlier that Bitcoin mining could become more centralized. What are some of the downsides of that, besides like the control issue?
Well, one of the core ideas of Bitcoin was decentralization.
Right.
It was designed to be a system that wasn't controlled by any single entity,
Yeah.
like, a government or a bank.
Right.
But if that mining power gets concentrated, it creates some vulnerabilities.
What kind of vulnerability?
For example, if one entity, just one, controls a majority of the mining power,
Right.
they could potentially manipulate transactions
Oh, wow.
or even double spend Bitcoin. That would really erode trust in the entire network.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it's not. It's crucial to keep an eye on these trends
Okay.
and really push for solutions that promote,
All right.
decentralization and transparency. It's about finding that balance
Yeah.
between efficiency and security, making sure that power remains distributed.
It's about maintaining the integrity of the system.
Exactly.
But let's switch gears and talk about another really cool area where blockchain is making waves: online gaming. We touched on it briefly,
Yeah.
but I want to dive deeper into some of the potential applications.
Oh, yeah. The convergence of two of my favorite things, blockchain and gaming.
It's a match made in digital heaven.
It is.
But beyond, catching cheaters,
Right.
creating those secure marketplaces for items, what other possibilities do you see?
Right.
What are you excited about?
One area I think is really cool is this idea of player ownership and governance in games.
Player ownership.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a real shift
Yeah.
where players actually have a say
Yeah.
in how the game is developed, updated, even monetized.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a pretty radical idea. So it's not just voting on new maps or features,
Right.
but actually owning part of the game itself.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
would that even work?
Well, blockchain could make it possible to create what are called decentralized autonomous organizations.
DAOs.
DAOs.
It sounds like sci-fi or something.
I know, right?
How would a DAO actually work within a game?
So think of it like a digital cooperative.
Okay.
Players
Yeah.
could buy or earn tokens that represent ownership shares in the game.
Okay.
Those tokens would give them voting rights
From
on decisions like
Okay.
new features, rule changes, even how the revenue is distributed.
So instead of a single game developer
Right.
calling all the shots,
Yeah.
you'd have this community of players
Yeah.
all invested in the game's success,
Right.
making decisions together. That would totally change how games are made, wouldn't it?
It would. It could lead to a more, democratic and player-centric landscape. We might see, more innovative games, better features, a more engaged player base.
It'd be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
It would.
Would it lead to better games, more unique features? I mean, there are so many possibilities.
I know. That's what's so exciting about it. It's like
Hmm.
the wild west of innovation. New ideas and applications are popping up all the time.
Speaking of the Wild West, let's get back to Bitcoin mining for a minute. We talked about the downsides of centralization, but are there any upsides, any benefits to having those big mining operations?
That's a good question. And, to be fair, there are some potential benefits. They can often achieve greater economies of scale,
Okay.
which can lower their operating costs.
So buying hardware in bulk, getting better deals on electricity.
Exactly. And they often have the resources to invest in better cooling systems
Okay.
and infrastructure, which can improve efficiency and reduce energy consumption.
So in a way, bigger mining operations could actually lead to innovation
Yeah.
and make the whole process more sustainable.
Potentially, yes. But it's about finding that balance,
Yeah,
right?
right.
We have to make sure these big players don't get too dominant. and that the whole mining ecosystem stays decentralized.
It's about finding that sweet spot, efficiency and decentralization. But let's zoom out for a second. What about blockchain as a whole? What other industries besides Bitcoin and gaming could be transformed by this tech?
Oh, the possibilities are huge.
Yeah.
We've already talked about supply chains and voting, but I think areas with big potential are healthcare, education, and creative industries.
Okay, let's start with healthcare. How could blockchain revolutionize how we manage our medical records?
Imagine a world where your entire medical history is securely stored on a blockchain. You and your doctors could access it anytime, anywhere.
So no more carrying around stacks of paper or
Yeah.
trying to remember every little detail of your medical history. That would definitely simplify things.
It would. It'd be a single source of truth,
Right.
updated constantly and totally secure.
How would that actually work? Would every doctor's visit, every test get added to the blockchain?
Yeah, pretty much. Every interaction, every appointment, lab test, prescription, it would all be recorded.
And you'd have control over who could see it.
You would. You could give access to specific doctors, hospitals, whoever you want. And you could revoke access anytime. You're in control of your own data.
That's way better than the current system where records are all over the place
Yeah.
and patients don't have much control.
It is, and it goes further than just record keeping.
Oh,
Blockchain could allow for secure data sharing between providers.
okay.
This could lead to better care, faster diagnoses, maybe even new breakthroughs.
So it's not just about individuals.
Right.
It's about making the whole system better.
Exactly. And it could also reduce costs
Oh.
by streamlining everything.
Now, what about education? Could blockchain change how we learn and earn credentials?
Imagine all your degrees, certifications, all stored on a blockchain, instantly verifiable by anyone.
So no more waiting for transcripts or worrying about lost diplomas.
Exactly. It'd be permanent and tamper-proof.
That would be a game changer. But beyond that, are there other benefits?
It could open up new ways of learning and earning credentials. Right now, it's all about traditional degrees, which don't always show the skills employers actually want.
Yeah, there's a gap between what's taught in school
Yep.
and what's needed in the real world.
Exactly. But with blockchain, you could have micro-credentials that show specific skills.
So instead of just a computer science degree,
Right.
you could have proof of your skills in specific programming languages
Yeah.
or software development.
Exactly. And you could earn these through all sorts of experiences,
Okay.
not just traditional classes.
So online courses, boot camps, even just showing your skills on projects.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And since they're on a blockchain,
Yeah.
employers could verify them instantly.
It sounds so much more adaptable to the modern workforce.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it could help people who haven't had traditional education opportunities.
Okay, we've covered healthcare and education. What about creative industries?
This is where it gets really interesting. Imagine artists connecting directly with fans, cutting out the middleman.
So more control over their work and their money.
Exactly. They could sell directly to fans
Wow.
without losing a chunk of their revenue.
That would be incredible for so many artists.
It would. And it's not just about money.
Right.
Blockchain could protect their intellectual property too,
Okay.
making sure they're credited and paid properly.
Oh.
Imagine every song, painting, book
Yeah.
registered on a blockchain, like a digital fingerprint.
You know for sure who owns it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone tries to copy without permission, it's instantly obvious.
That would be huge for fighting piracy
Yeah,
and protecting artists' rights.
it would.
Huh.
And we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It's amazing to see how blockchain is being used in so many different areas. We've talked about so much today, from Bitcoin mining to healthcare, education, even the arts.
We have.
But it's important to remember that this is all still pretty new.
It is. It's early days.
Like any new technology, there are challenges and risks. We need to think about things like the environmental impact, the possibility of centralization, and protecting people's privacy.
Absolutely. Those are important considerations.
But with all that in mind, what are your final thoughts on the future of blockchain?
You know, despite the challenges, I'm optimistic. I think this technology could really empower people, create fairer systems, and lead to a ton of innovation.
It's definitely an exciting time to be following all of this, but before we wrap up, I gotta ask, what's probably on everyone's mind? Should I invest in Bitcoin?
The million-dollar question.
Yeah,
And it's one I can't answer for you.
right, of course.
I'm not a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And even if I was, I couldn't give advice without knowing your personal situation and risk tolerance.
Okay, so what advice can you give to people who are curious about Bitcoin or
Yeah.
other cryptocurrencies.
Most important thing is to do your research.
Okay.
Don't just jump in because of the hype. Understand the tech, the risks, the potential rewards. Make informed decisions.
Right, it's got to be a level-headed decision. The market is super volatile.
It is.
Prices go up and down like crazy. There's always the risk of losing money.
Exactly. It's not for everyone. But if you do your homework and invest carefully, it can be a really exciting space.
Well said. To all our listeners out there, remember, investing in cryptocurrency is a personal choice. Do your research, understand the risks, and never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Good advice. Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into blockchain. We've covered a lot, but there's always more to learn.
To our listeners, keep exploring this incredible technology. Read, research, experiment, and ask questions.
Because in the world of blockchain, the most valuable thing you can have is curiosity.
And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged. The future of blockchain is being written right now, and we're all a part of it.